Hey everyone, thank you for taking time to join us on this special 8-episode series where we are reviewing the TV show The Chosen. The Chosen is the first ever multi-season TV show about the life of Jesus. Season 1 is available free to the public through their app and contains 8 episodes. We will be reviewing each episode of the show in this special series, so we invite you to download the app, watch it with some friends or family, and join us each week as we sit down to discuss the show, The Chosen. All right, hey everyone, welcome in tonight. I'm so glad you're joining with us. We've got a couple changes, as you can probably tell. The first one is a format change just for tonight. Due to a little bit of equipment challenges I'm facing, we are doing an audio version of our episode today, and hopefully be back to our video version next week as we solve some of these challenges we're facing, but we're going to make it work. The second thing is I am going to be alone tonight due to some travel and family obligations. Sam is not with me tonight, but we're going to still review episode number 5 from The Chosen. If you haven't got into The Chosen yet, I really encourage you to start back with episode number 1. Watch episode 1. You can jump in and do the review with Sam and I, and hopefully you'll enjoy this. We continue to encourage you to watch it, not because it is a perfect representation of everything that you find in Scripture, although up to this point I have yet to see it really veer off from Scripture far. But we are encouraging people to watch this because the point of the show, the goal of the creator, and we found this to be true, is that it is a storytelling, imaginative teaching that comes from the Scripture. But what it does is it drives you back to the Scriptures as it focuses in on some really key stories like Mary Magdalene or Peter and Andrew, and takes some creative license, and it makes you really begin to think about these guys in a different way. So we encourage you to do that. Today we're going to talk about episode number 5, and it revolves around a really big event. It's the wedding in Cana that Jesus goes to with his disciples. It's the first event that really is the coming out of his public ministry. He brings some of his disciples with him, and we see that happen, and he begins to reveal himself because of the situation that came about. There's 2 other interactions that are pretty interesting in this episode that I want to share with you. The first one is between Peter and his wife. So Peter, when we saw him the last time, left under really a strenuous situation with his wife. He had been lying to her. He had a tax burden that he couldn't pay, and he was trying to solve it on his own. And as he fished all night, finally Jesus shows up on the shore and saves him, really his life, from going to jail or even dying at the hands of the Romans because of his tax bill. And when we pick up here in episode 5, he gets to come back and speak to his wife about what happened. And when he finally returns home, he has news to tell her, not only that his debt has been paid for and that everything is taken care of, which is just wonderful news. When he reveals that to her, she says, "Peter, you look like you're sad. What's going on? Why aren't you happy?" And he goes, No, I am happy." But he then begins to explain to her that the man who helped him was the Messiah, and that the Messiah had called Peter to follow him. And he was concerned that his wife would not be happy about this, would have some objections to it. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. She is very supportive of him. One of the things she says to him is that this is the man that she married, that we get an indication that Peter was a seeker, that he was hungry for the Lord, and after some period of time, maybe he made some money in the fishing business, he grew disinterested or lost his hope for the Messiah. And one of the things that she says to him is that you were never really born to be a fisherman. And he doesn't know exactly what's entailed with what Jesus has called him to be, but he's willing to go because of what he has seen. This encounter with Jesus is just too intriguing and too overwhelming for him not to follow. And so the first thing they do is he and Andrew, James and John, Mary, and Thaddeus go to the wedding with him. And as we take a break from that journey, it turns over to Nicodemus and John the Baptist. John the Baptist is in prison. And this interaction is so intriguing to me. I just love how the storytellers in this series are giving us the story of Nicodemus, because we do see his progression through the book of John. I would encourage you to read the book of John. You'll see Nicodemus show up 3 times in chapter 3, in chapter 7, and then at his crucifixion, Nicodemus is there again. And it's a progression from hiding and skeptical inquiry all the way to outwardly fully loving and supporting Jesus. And Nicodemus is seeking and he's hungry, but you can tell that he's having a really hard time squaring what he is seeing and hearing with what he has always believed. You see, he's been raised, and this would have been accurate, to be this very traditional Jewish teacher who stopped expecting really much to happen. The Lord hadn't spoken through a prophet for many years, and the religious leaders like the Pharisees and the Sadducees became powerful people, and they sort of loved their power and really didn't want a lot to change because they were cozied up with the Romans. But there's something in Nicodemus that makes him want more, to want what God has always promised. And John showing up and hearing about John, and he's asking about miracles, and when he reveals to John that he has seen a miracle done to Mary Magdalene, John gets super excited because he believes that the Messiah is actually here, and he's starting to reveal himself and make himself public. And the interaction between Nicodemus and John has nothing to lose because he's a homeless, poor man who is just deemed a crazy person because he's preaching. And Nicodemus is a wealthy, influential, significant man. And Nicodemus, you can tell, has everything to lose if he keeps going down this route. And to me, it makes me draw back and go, what would it cost me to follow Jesus all the way? What has it cost me, and what will it cost me going forward? And am I willing to endure that cost at whatever it takes to follow after Jesus? And Nicodemus decides we're going to find out that I think he does. So I just want to stop and pause and draw back to the story of the wedding. It's in John chapter 2, and I would encourage you to go back and read that story again. It's the first about 13 verses of John chapter 2 where Jesus goes to the wedding. And you can tell in the story, just in the scripture, that the miracle is done not to impress people, but to relieve a major burden and concern for people. And Jesus always was doing his miracles because he was concerned for people. He was for their good. It wasn't just to impress people with what he could do, but it was to care for people. And the husband and wife who would have been throwing the party, the wedding, it would have been a major stain on their reputation if they had not planned properly and been able to provide a proper wedding feast for the people. And so when the crisis hits where there is not enough wine, Mary runs to Jesus in the story, and I love the way it happens because Jesus, you can tell that he's not ready to start his public ministry yet. He doesn't want to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, that he is the Messiah and he's here to do this. But Mary says, "Please, Jesus, for me." And one of the things that these storytellers do so well is that they make you really see Jesus as a human, experiencing life, contemplating things, feeling the burden and the heaviness of life. For me, that's been really powerful to watch this happen, and for me to really humanize Jesus and see him feel the burden that his mother is feeling and feel the concern that is for the family. It's been powerful for me to watch Jesus feel joy and celebration for people. And remember, he was fully human and lived this experience exactly like we live it. And while doing that, it really shaped who he was and had an impact on him. And so, Jesus is there and the wedding situation happens. And what I like about the storytelling is that they let Thomas be the distributor or provider of the wine. And it was his job to bring enough, even though the family didn't have enough money. They brought what they had paid for. And Thomas, being the calculator, knew that they needed more and wanted to bring some and just lose his profit, just to bring it to make sure he did the right thing. And you get that sense about Thomas, that he's the calculator, he's the overthinker, he's the one who said to Jesus, he ran the calculation and said how much food they would need to feed the 5,000. It was him who said, until I touch the print of the nails, I won't believe. He's the overthinker. And Jesus uses this moment not only to save the wedding and the embarrassment those people would have been experiencing, but he also uses it in this story to draw Thomas in and call Thomas. And you can tell Thomas has a moment in this that's pretty powerful. And so you'll enjoy that story, and it'll bring you back. And I encourage you to read John chapter 2 and just get, for me, it gave me the human element of Jesus, that he does really care about things that we might think are little to him, like how a wedding party might go or not go. Like, does it really matter in eternity? Probably not. But Jesus cares about what we're experiencing. And that stands out really a lot when you watch this. So I'll share with you, as I watched this episode, it made me smile. I noticed myself just naturally smiling. It made me laugh. There were a few moments I just chuckled when Jesus is joking with Peter and Andrew, and he's very lighthearted. And I found myself smiling at Jesus when he was kind to the children, or laughing when he was teasing Andrew about some things. But I also found myself cry a few times. One of them is when Peter's wife supports him and believes in him and is so convinced of the Messiah that, she is all in with him. And that's a really powerful moment that you feel for Peter, that he needed her support and he got it. And then I found myself crying when I saw Jesus just empathetically look at all the people at the wedding and know that his ministry, he didn't think at that moment it was his time. But that ministry, it really was his time to do that, because it was about serving the needs of people. And so he was willing to do that. I hope that you will watch episode 5. Again, if you're tracking along with us, leave a comment in the section below. Tell me what you liked about the episode, what confused you, what maybe you got from it that you haven't thought about before, and be willing to share it if you would like to share this with others. And hope that you all are being brought back to the feet of Jesus as you watch these episodes, and it brings you back to Scripture and in awe of Jesus, because what stands out in each of these episodes so far is that when somebody has an encounter with Jesus, their life is never the same. And I believe it's true for us as well, that when we come to the Scripture and see these stories and have an encounter with Jesus, our life will never be the same.